I think it's naive to have an optimistic view of the world. Now it might sound like a broad statement and a bit nihilistic, but it's true. When you take a step back and look at all the evil and bad, you kind of realize that there's no solution. People are born into terrible circumstances, people die every day, and I can see how it'd seem pessimistic, but if anything, it's more realistic. I mean, not to say there isn't any good, of course, because where there's bad, there's good. We need pain to experience pleasure, love to hate, etc. If the people in power wanted to stop conflict and wars and come together to solve world hunger and pool in resources to solve diseases, it can be done. I mean, I know there's a lot of intricate details I'm going over, but ultimately it's possible. They have the power, the resources, the technology, the means to do so. Now, is it ever going to happen? No, because they thrive off strife and conflict. Life is a game to them, and it's about control. Think about this, right? God made it so that we can grow food from the ground. That's no coincidence, literally from the ground. Yet human beings have somehow messed up the world to a point where millions of people die from starvation a year. The people in power take money from the people, coerce them I should say, in order to fund more conflict. And this is where we get into the true root of evil and how this ties into secret societies. And no, money isn't the root of evil. Money is just essentially a made-up system created and used for the sole purpose of controlling people and enabling human beings to be corrupt. Granted, money and currency is the greatest tool they have to enabling and forcing everyone into playing their game. And media, politics, and entertainment are their greatest weapons. The root of evil is human nature and essentially why there will never be a solution. What you gotta understand is that human beings are self-interested, and human beings also have free will. And unless you're completely programmed, it's pretty obvious that secret societies exist and operate in the shadows. I mean, there are people that still believe that secret societies are just myths, but if you do research, it's literally in the history books. I mean, the Illuminati was founded back in 1776, the same day Declaration of Independence was signed, go figure. And the Freemasons were founded in 1700s as well. And then Skull and Bones founded from Yale University, Knights of Golden Circle, Black Hand, Bilderbergs, etc. And on top of that, to deny secret societies is to essentially deny human nature. Everyone has experienced this and can probably understand this to a certain degree. But human beings want and enjoy power over others. Human beings, especially in positions of power, love coming together and conspiring. Power is too seductive for human beings to turn away. They love conflicts and human beings love control. It happens in every stage of life. It happens when you're a kid. Kids come together and impose power and bully other kids. It happens with teenagers, right? In friend groups, they make group chats talking about other people within that same friend group. And I'm sure never has that not happened in the history of any friend group. People love to stir up conflict and drama for no reason. Why? Because it's fun, it's enticing, it's human nature. And it happens in workplaces. I bet supervisors or managers or co-workers come together all the time and talk about other workers. It happens with the police, the CIA, the Secret Service. And it happens in sports and athletes and Hollywoods and celebrities you worship for whatever reason. It just happens because it's human nature, especially in positions of power. And these were concepts that James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, George Washington talked about all the time. It happens anytime there's a collection of people at any stage of life. For them to come together, conspire, and impose their will on other people, and to also conflict with anyone that threatens that power. This structural dynamic always happens with human beings in groups. It happened with Athens and Sparta, and it's gonna happen with US and China. Human beings are drawn to conflict, especially with those that threaten their power. And like I said, it happens at every stage of life. Kids love conflict, teens love conflict, it's seductive, it's enticing, it's fun. It's the core of human nature being imperfect beings. People at every stage of life, whether it's just elementary school kids, political leaders across nations across the world, or elites in the shadow, everyone is subject to this. So to think that the people with the most power and influence don't do that, don't come together and conspire and impose their will, is naive and also denies the nature of human beings. Like I said, if the people in power really wanted to stop war and conflict and come together, it could happen, but it won't because once again, the nature of human beings won't change. Life is just a game, especially for those in positions of power and control. For a majority of the people, it's about paying bills and putting food on the table. And then when you're finally able to do those things, then it becomes how much better of a lifestyle you can live. How much better you can eat, drive a nicer car, better house, more expensive vacation, so on and so forth. People in many ways are slaves to a system in which they exist, but it's just not something you think about because like I said, you just worry about things like taxes and what's for dinner. And I think that's the entire point. These people in positions of power and control, they purposely implemented this system. And these organizations, elite ruling families and whatnot, these people who operate in the shadows push the world in the direction they want. Like the Rockefellers. If you didn't know, the Rockefellers are one of, if not the richest families in the United States. And for decades and centuries, they keep their agendas and actions in the shadows. David Rockefeller himself literally stated in his memoirs in chapter 27, I think it was, "Yes, it is mine and my family's goal to create a global government." Like he himself stated that, and people still think the New World Order is this conspiratorial thing. These organizations or elite ruling families, whatever you want to call them, they implemented this system where a majority of people lose by default and can't do anything about it because they have to focus on the most basic hierarchy of needs, which is food, shelter, and water. Which I mean really makes no sense because God literally made these things free. But the system was purposely designed this way, over like centuries ago by these organizations and these families whose bloodlines have been kept very specific till this day. And to most people this isn't a problem, right? Or even something to think about for that matter. Because they're happy just worrying about paying bills and what's for dinner, living day to day. Even if they are slaves to a system, that's fine, right? I'm not gonna tell anyone else how to live, what their philosophy should be, etc. As a matter of fact, some people actually need that structure to exist in this system, even if that does make them a slave. Even if they are unable to think or act according to their true will or purpose. I think Socrates made some sort of philosophical argument about it. I can't seem to remember. But it was basically the idea of the blue and red pill, right? I say it all the time, either choose blissful ignorance or choose unsettling truth and reality. It's up to you. Whatever you choose and how you go about life accordingly. But I guess my point is that even though a majority of people probably wouldn't care about this or would even think about this because they're happy just chasing money and living a lifestyle that they want, which again is fine, but what about the people who fall through the cracks within that system? What about kids that are born into third world countries? What about the people who are slaves to their nations, both physically and mentally? I mean, North Korea is the easiest example of this. They have an entire nation of 25 million people who are in concentration camps, and most of the people there are forced to starve and literally grow their food in their own shit. I mean, it's gotten so bad to a point where the people who live there have tapeworms growing inside of them because their food is so contaminated. And the saddest part about this is that millions of people who are born into this and forced to live like this is all because of a man-child with an ego, along with his elite family that has enslaved generations of people. Again, not just physically, but mentally as well. Like the people who live there actually believe that that's what life is supposed to be like, because they've been indoctrinated since they were kids and they have no understanding of the outside world. And this is just one example in the world. This is an example of how just one elite family has enslaved millions of people. All because of the human nature to impose power over others. Again, going back to the root of evil being human nature, they have somehow implemented this system that forces everyone born into this world to play their games in their set of rules. I mean, it's always about control, and no one seems to notice when the people in power start stripping away your freedom and implementing that control. Actually, no, it's not that people don't notice, it's that most people don't care to notice. I mean, it's just easier being blind and living a simple life of working, chasing money, and being ignorant to all these things. I mean, just think about it. Taxes is another huge example. They say taxes is for public schools and roads and healthcare, etc. I mean, first of all, the schools are shit. They don't teach you a single thing. It's a waste of time and used to indoctrinate people and put your head so far up your ass that you can't think deeper about anything. It's meant to keep everyone in line the way they want. The most beneficial thing about school is the social aspect and fostering friendships. But I mean, that's not a direct effect from school. It's just a natural byproduct. The roads, even in the biggest cities, are crap. You have this weird, never-ending homeless and drug problem and people living in tents, even in the biggest cities. And I don't really know too much about healthcare. Most of the money goes to fund the military because, like I said, humans love conflict and fight invisible wars and creates enemies to fight against all the time. And honestly, taxes is just another way for the government to make sure you know in the back of your mind that they own you. And in a capitalistic society, they have to counteract those that have gained too much from it. It's kinda idealistic, but in theory, people should be able to do whatever they want as long as they don't infringe on someone else's happiness. Something so simple and universally agreed upon by most people. You watching this agree with that. But it'll never be the case because the nature of human beings want to implement power and control over others. And it just so happens that the people in power who have that control and capacity are the secret societies and families who have created this broken system and the world people are forced to exist in. And that is the root of evil. And like I said, most people don't care or aren't able to think about the world in this way because you're programmed. The foundation of your beliefs in a political perspective is that the government serves to better the lives of people, which is false. Most people are fine with a 9-to-5 job, brown-nosing for a check, and then retiring when they're 65 to chill and spend their money on bullshit. Which again, is fine. But I also don't understand that appeal. Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. To essentially slave away the majority of your life so you can save enough money to do nothing in retirement? I mean, first of all, you'll be bored in less than a week if you have nothing to do. Just ask any old person. That's why when you're old, you want nothing more than to be young again. But yeah, this simplistic way of life, even if you are just a cog in the system, is good enough for most people. But like I said, what about the people who fall through the cracks in this broken system? What about the kids that are born into these countries with their fate sealed the moment they're born? And listen, this world that's created this broken system is purposely created this way by these secret societies and families. I mean, pretty much what I was getting at the whole video. I wish I could unpack more, but you know, low attention spans. So to summarize, this broken system of this world we live in, make no mistake, is not just the byproduct of human beings messing up. It's been created and molded through decades and centuries by these organizations and societies and elite families who still operate till this day. They push society in the direction they want to go. And this isn't just money and politics. They push ideologies too, and no one ever figures this out. For example, the Rockefeller family played a huge part in funding a lot of fake feminist ideologies. I mean, these families can literally do anything with their power and influence. Like I said, it's human nature when you have power to come together and conspire and implement your will upon the weak. It goes even as far as our universities that are funded by them to purposely implement ideas in people's minds. Like, it really goes that deep, the reach goes that far, and these are all things you can research. And you know, if all this simply meant people just existed in a system in which they're slaves but they're happy, like just being rats in a lab chasing cheese aka money our whole lives, and be content, I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm not gonna play by those rules, but if that's what it is for a majority of the people, I'm okay with that. People are content, be it slaves to a system or not. That's fine, it's not like any person can save the world. Breaking ideologies that have brainwashed 99% of people to ever exist is impossible. But the problem is, that's not all it is. It's not just people being brainwashed in a system happily existing in ignorance. Cause like I said, what about the people who fall through the cracks? Born into the worst situations who have their fate sealed? That are just victims to a broken system that's been purposely created. I mean, are they just to be left for dead? Anyways, I kinda went deep on this one, but that's also because I'm about to lighten up, cause Logan Paul vs Floyd Mayweather is this Sunday, and I plan on making some videos on that and dive into this entertainment / boxing world for a bit. It's gonna be fun, so yeah, keep an eye out for that. Anyways, if you listened this far, thank you, I appreciate you, you're a real one. And yeah, if you liked the vid, leave a like, comment, or sub. And with that said, make sure you guys stay true. Talk to you guys real soon. Peace.